Hello, angel babies. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Trisha, and this is Trisha's Temple. Thanks for being here. As you can see, there is chaos going on in the background because I'm still in the process of settling into this new place. But I wanted to do things a little bit differently today because I've had this idea for a reading for quite a while. Pleasure and pain have been going through a breakup. For a long time, they have been intertwined with each other, and it's been hard to tell the difference between one or the other. You have felt things like anxiety and confused it for chemistry. You have felt self-abandonment or participated in self-abandonment and chalked that up to being devoted or loyal. You have been hypervigilant and confused that with being very careful or considerate of other people and their feelings. You have been very exhausted and confused that with being worthy or someone who was highly invested in whatever it was that you were doing. You confused depriving yourself of something with purity, or refraining, holding yourself back from participation as a way to somehow become a higher, more evolved version of yourself. You confused emotional volatility in yourself or other people with aliveness. So maybe you were in a relationship with someone and they were particularly reactive, and that felt more alive or more familiar to you. You confused shame with morality. So if you felt ashamed or you felt guilty, then you attributed that to a sense that you were on the right path or were doing something correct. You confused collapse with rest. So after you had burned yourself out to the nth degree, then you would fall flat on your face. You were collapsing. You were not able to go any further, and that was the only time that you would really rest. You confused being chosen with finally being safe, and that's been a pursuit that you've been after for a long time. And maybe you felt all of these or just a few, but now you are starting to separate out the individual experiences and getting more clear on what a healthy relationship looks like with yourself and with other people. You're getting more clear on reciprocity, what it feels like to have something that is steady and honest, consistent, something that's more spacious and allows you to actually experience the ebbs and flows, but not for the intensity's sake. Something that's more embodied, where you're actually connected to the experience rather than feeling like you are an observer of the experience. Dissociation. In fact, there may be a little bit of you moving through a process where you're starting to experience some relationships that are more reciprocal, more honest and steady. And it feels a little bit uncomfortable because you were used to the extremes. You spent a lot of time being taught to override your intuition, your body, your internal cues that told you, hey, when you are going through this experience and your heart rate is increasing and you're feeling this sense of fear, you just have to immediately override it, because that means you are more alive, or that means that you are pursuing this great ideal. You confused intensity and intimacy, and now you're separating them out. You're realizing that adrenaline is not the same as presence, that when you are feeling at peace and centered, regulated, you're better able to actually make a choice about what things are good for you and which are not. I just saw 555. This is the moment of change, the turning point where pleasure and pain are being separated. So I wanted this reading to be like a reading I would do if I were doing a reading for an actual breakup or just a relationship in general. So one side will be for pleasure and one side will be for pain, just like I would do if it was like one side for your energy and one side for the person that you were thinking about's energy. And then in the middle will be the relationship between the two. So I want you, if you would like, to notice the relationship that you have with pleasure and pain and how they are communicating with each other. And I'm going to do like a looking at the reading for this one, because I think it will be interesting to see how the cards interact with each other. Okay, welcome to the reading. My first question is, how is pleasure showing up in your life right now, and how is pain showing up in your life right now? So I have two different decks, one for each. All right, we've got a runner. This is pleasure on the left. We have the 7 of Cups. And how is pain showing up in your life? The Empress. Okay. So pleasure is showing up by presenting you with a lot of options, and that might feel a little bit overwhelming right now, because maybe for a long time you felt really restricted, like you were caged in, you didn't have a lot of choice, you were following a very rigid structure or system, and now you have all of these options in front of you. And on the one hand, that's like, yay, I can do anything that I want. And on the other hand, that's like, oh, I can do whatever I want. And that feels like a bit of responsibility is on your shoulders. And you're starting to shift up how you perceive that feeling, that there are so many options in front of you. Instead of feeling so overwhelmed by it, or like you have to do all of the things, you're like, oh, I could just try one out. I can just click on this bubble and see what happens. I can dabble over here and feel out the way that that experience is in my body. And over here we have the Empress. She has everything a woman needs in abundance, and she's at one with the forces of the mystical realms of the universe. So for that being connected to pain, I think that you might actually have a lot more of a handle on your pain. And what I mean by that is that you are not giving it so much credence or writing deep stories of, okay, I'm experiencing pain and therefore I am a bad person, or I'm experiencing pain and then I have to drudge up every past experience that is associated with this type of pain and play out all of these scenarios, like catastrophizing or whatever. And it's not to say that you won't ever catastrophize, but you just, I think you're becoming more of the empress around the ways that you are interacting with your pain. You're like, okay, I see you, I feel you, I hear you, and now we're gonna switch up the way that I receive this. It's also, now that I'm saying that, like if somebody were to project something onto you, you're a lot more like, oh no, that's not mine. I don't need to take that take that on. You have like more rituals, routines, better energetic hygiene, and recognize that you do have the things that you need. Okay, let's find out what the energy is between the two. I'm gonna use this deck. So what is the energy between pleasure and pain right now? This is kind of the vibe check. Portion. What is the energy, the relationship between pleasure and pain right now? I just heard, how are they showing up for each other? Interesting, okay. How are they showing up to support each other? It's like, if you are experiencing some amount of pain, like let's say you went through a breakup, or you got laid off, or you had some sort of a loss, and then pleasure is coming in and creating some sort of support for that painful ending. Whereas in the past, maybe you would have, okay, this is the one. We have the Three of Pentacles. In the past, you might have been one to hang out with the pain for a lot longer. To wallow, to collapse. And it's not to say that you are not allowing yourself to feel the pain. I want to make that very clear. You are, but then you're doing different things with it instead of believing that it is part of your identity. Okay, so this Three of Pentacles, as far as the relationship between the two, feels like I mean, it's a spiral. It feels like spiraling in a good way. There are sometimes those spirals where you feel like you're not really getting anywhere. Feels more like a loop. But this is a spiral that feels like it's helping you to climb up and out of something. That you move towards the pain and you touch it for a moment, and then you come out and explore the pleasure. This is reminding me of a book. Actually, it's called What Happened to You, and it's by Bruce Perry and Oprah, actually. They talk about this idea that we cannot stay in the trauma for super long periods of time. We have to kind of dip our toes in the past experience, process a little bit of it, and then come back to our everyday life. If we were to just like try to process all of it all at the same time, all in one stretch, it would be too overwhelming to our system. And I think maybe you once believed, or maybe were even taught, that you needed to fix something about yourself, that there was something wrong with you for having experienced hard things in your life, or for being who you are. And now you are, this is kind of feeling like a dance between the pleasure and the pain, like a not a seance, like a yeah, they're communicating with each other more. They're living more harmoniously rather than being in conflict with each other or being codependent on each other. Okay, let's dive into that a little bit more. What is pleasure trying to teach you right now? What does it want you to know or understand? Ooh, Nine of Pentacles. I love this Nine of Pentacles. She wants you to know that it's okay to slow down and luxuriate, appreciate the fruits of your labor. That you have already accomplished a lot. And this pleasure that you are experiencing right now was made possible by a past version of you. And that actually the more that you allow yourself to play and have fun and enjoy these moments, like to lay out on your chaise lounge and read and drink wine and eat meatballs or whatever yummy food, to sit under your tree, you will be even more inspired to experience more of that. Like, it's going to breed more pleasure in your life. Okay. Like, pleasure and abundance are not in short supply, and in fact, they are going to multiply or have a compounding effect. What about pain? What is pain's message for you? What does it want you to know? We have the Eight of Cups. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to let go of any story or belief that you are somehow a bad person, or that you have to keep proving that you are a good person. Any beliefs around your fear needing to control your story or your past experiences needing to control your story. Okay, let's ask a little bit more about that actually. How can you differentiate between something that you should listen to, pay attention to, and something that's just fear? How are you going to know when it's something to walk away from based on, like, okay, this is actually no longer serving me, versus I'm trying to walk away from this even though it's going to ultimately serve me and be an opportunity for growth? What's the difference in those flavors? The Seven of Cups. Okay, so I think that there is a message here about feeling overwhelmed, or like you have to make a decision super quickly. That pain or fear and overwhelm often create urgency or contract. They pull you in, suck you into their vortex, make you feel like it's now or never. Like I'm seeing this like shadowy ghost figure in the background with its hand up. Like, stop. You can pause and take in the scenery for a moment if you're feeling that type of intense fear, overwhelm, and return to something that allows you to feel in that Nine of Pentacles energy. All right. And what about the energy between these two? The Knight of Pentacles and then this, like leaving behind. These are just flying out. And they're all flying to the floor, of course. We have the Nine of Wands. Okay, so there may still be a bit of heat and passion between these, like moments when your inner critic or your like you'll have nightmares, you'll have those like moments of self-doubt or worry, the like moments of overwhelm, whatever, popping up. And that is not saying that you are not moving towards safety and pleasure and softness. Just because this is still popping up here and there. All right, let's find out a little bit more about, I think that distinction is feeling extra confusing. Like, okay, well, I'm feeling moments of doubt and fear and overwhelm, so how can I know that this thing is right for me? Or, yeah. Let's look at pleasure side of the story. Got 3 cards coming out. Okay. So we have the 10 of Cups, the Emperor, and the Ace of Wands. Okay, so what's coming up is that you may have had, or may still have, a specific idea of what an ideal, pleasurable, happy, peaceful life might look like for you, for the world even. Hope that life could be more beautiful, more wonderful than it is currently. And at times that vision and dream gets it feels like it's been some people have cut it down or dissuaded you from viewing things this way. Like, oh, like that's naive, that's impossible, we can't have that, you can't have that. You better like set your sights lower. And then you have experiences where things don't go the way that you would want them to, and you start to think, well, maybe they were right. Maybe I shouldn't believe that things can be this beautiful, bright, colorful, soft, pleasurable life. And the inner critic voice will come up and say, don't forget about this. What about this? And you're like, well, what if those voices are right? But then the Emperor is coming in here and saying, actually, you know what? You have a lot more grounded, sovereign energy than you give yourself credit for on any given day, in any given moment. You are a lot more regulated and emotionally intelligent and capable than most people will ever acknowledge, including yourself. You have the ability to create the magical, beautiful dream in your mind, and you've been doing it for your whole fucking life. And then you look back and you're like, oh yeah, I'm right. That's right, that's true. I have, you know, decorated my room really beautifully, or dressed aesthetically in the way that I like, or I've learned how to cook really yummy things, or I've taken really good care of my relationships in these certain ways. And I have made an effort to build community around me. I have learned how to carve wood. Like whatever it is that you have imagined for your life, you've been slowly but surely building towards that all throughout your life. And just because it hasn't reached the peak form, there's a part of you that is still like, but you're not there yet, or what about this, or let's worry about this. And this version of you over here that really believes in all of the magic and the goodness and the beauty is not needing quite as much protection as maybe it once did when you were younger, when you didn't have as much experience as you do now. And you are more aware of when the second guessing or the backtracking, the looping has any sort of merit. When it's something that you haven't already thought through 17 jillion times. That if somebody else were to come to you thinking that same thought process, you wouldn't immediately cut through it with your own kind, clear voice. But because it's in your head, you think, well, maybe I should listen. I think that this dream vision of your life that you have, your ultimate fulfillment on all fronts, all accounts, is starting to feel less daunting and overwhelming to you, like we talked about in the beginning, and actually more exciting and fun. Okay. So on pain's side, what is it that you are still coming up against over there that's making this dream feel so, that's just like bumping up against the dream, the grand vision and plan, the soul's deepest wish? A dream is a wish the heart makes. A dream is a wish the heart makes. If I could sing opera, I think that my life would be made. Except I don't even think that's an operatic song, but I would make it one. Also, it's like 1 billion degrees in here. It's getting hotter. No! I put the air down, and unfortunately, it's not working. I'm going to be boiled alive. Come on, Pain. What do you have to say? I think the pain can be sometimes sneaky, or just, I mean, it's like the quote that says, pain demands to be felt. And it will be something like you are tired, or you're hungry, or you have like way too many things on your plate for that day, or somebody comes to you with something that is like the exact pinpoint stab right in the jugular of your deepest wound when you need to pee, and you're like, oh no, I can't take it anymore, and you like bubble over and you get upset, and then your brain is like, oh no, this is evidence that I am indeed a bad person. And this pain, I mean, it says, the Ace of Pentacles, manifesting your material goals. It doesn't actually want to keep you from, it's not trying to hurt you. In fact, it's trying to protect you. Like if you touch a hot stove and you realize, oh, that's hot and now my hand is burning, that's telling you that the stove is hot and you shouldn't touch the hot stove. That's a good thing. You wouldn't want all of your pain signals to be gone from your body. It's more so that you're now shifting the way that you interact with this story that says, because I touched the hot stove and felt that pain, that means that I have to wear a badge around my neck that says I touched the hot stove. And then those badges that you start to wear around your neck start to feel really heavy. And like they are pulling you back from the type of life that you do want to live. I think that what you're doing now, I'm like seeing one of these medals around your neck, and it's not that you're being like, oh, that never happened to me and I don't care and I'm gonna pretend like it didn't happen, but you're shifting the way that you relate to it. You are, now I'm thinking of this part in Harry Potter where they're all of the people who are part of Dumbledore's army are carrying around these tokens in their pockets. And when it is time for them to gather together, there's a message that shows up on the token. So before, it just looked like a normal galleon, normal gold piece. And then it starts to have a message written on it. So before, maybe you were carrying around just like a normal stone in your pocket. This is an interesting analogy here. And then something shifts where now that stone, some of them, I think maybe you really are just like throwing away. You're like, you know what, I don't really need this. I don't relate to it anymore, and it can go away. Some of them you're like, okay, what can I do with this? And give it a new purpose, a new meaning that is actually helping you towards this dream over here. What is helping with that connection? What is allowing it to exist? have the Mentor, which is the Hierophant. You are reconnecting with your inner world, something that you've been doing for a while. And I think that that's happening through avenues that maybe you once wrote off as not being for you. They weren't allowed. As well as some that have just been a part of you for a long time. Like maybe you've always been somebody who really enjoys writing in your journal, or you've been somebody who enjoys going on long walks. You're somebody who enjoys yoga, you know, like whatever your particular thing is. It can be truly anything that allows you time to connect to yourself. And in that process, I'm hearing the word circumventing and exchanging the way that pleasure and pain are interacting with each other. There's a new contract being written between the pleasure and the pain. So where there were energies that were tangled before, now they're a little bit more clearly outlined so that they each have their defined roles. Okay, I'm gonna clear this and we're gonna find out what the new roles are going to be for pleasure and pain. I would say that that last set of cards is kind of a transitional phase that you're maybe in right now, maybe you were in more recently or going to be in soon. And then this set of cards that we're going into is going to be more of a future orientation towards pleasure and pain that allows you to interact with them a little bit differently. So I don't think that you're interacting with them in the same way that you did maybe when you were younger, like we were talking about in the intro, of tying everything together like anxiety and chemistry. You've started to be able to tell the difference between those, but it's still a process. It's still an untangling. And this orientation that you're moving towards is going to be more clearly defined. All right, so what type of energy will pleasure be in the future when you've spent more time untangling the intensity and intimacy versus intimacy, the adrenaline versus peace, calm, regulation versus dysregulation. Okay, whoop. We have the Nine of Swords, but it came out reversed. I like to put them upright though and read them both ways to see which makes the most sense. All right, so a new orientation towards pleasure is that I mean, this card can really mean almost like the deep subconscious things, like your dreams and all of that type of world. It can also mean rest. So I would say that you are going to be orienting towards pleasure, or rather the aspects of your subconscious that treated pleasure like it was dangerous, taboo, too unfamiliar, so you needed to run in the opposite direction, are going to be lifting, releasing you from their spell. You will have a greater ability to tell the difference between a dream and reality, or when you want something to be a reality that is a dream. Okay, interesting. What about pain? How are you going to be orienting towards pain in the future? And I will say that the untangling of that nervous system, like of having a nervous system that oriented towards that a more panicked survival state for a long time is just going to be an ongoing process. And I don't think that you are even going to expect it to change overnight, or even in, even in your lifetime, that it's just kind of a part of your process is to become more and more gentle with yourself and your nervous system, and better be able to relate to that part of you that is scared of the things that go bump in the night. So for pain, it looks like you're orienting towards pain with, yeah, I mean, it's a continuation of that compassion and honesty. There may have been a lot of conflict for a long time in your life that got rooted deeply within you, of I need to be at war with myself in order to, like, that's just how it is to be alive. Like, what it is to be alive is to be at war with myself. And when that's not happening, it might feel a little bit unsettling. And as you're moving towards this future orientation, you're able to see conflict and being at war with yourself. Like, have compassion and empathy for it, but also not needing that to be the end of the story. You can move through it more quickly, more gently. All right. And what about the relationship between the two? I just pulled these cards out and the Three of Swords is on the bottom. I think that this future orientation towards both pleasure and pain and the relationship between the two of them is honestly just giving yourself a lot of credit for the heartbreak and pain, the things that you have already experienced, allowing yourself to turn the page, close the book from that type of a hard lifestyle. I'm imagining you being in some sort of a war or battle on a battlefield, and then you're laying down your swords, you are taking off your armor, and then you're spending time resting and getting to know yourself differently. And of course, the wounds from the battle are still going to be there, and the muscle memory of, oh, when somebody comes towards me and is coming at me with, you know, a loud voice, or they seem like they're going to be aggressive towards me, I should be defensive. But then you start to realize, oh, I don't actually have to operate that way as much as I used to. The Hanged One. Yeah, you're starting to see things through a new perspective. The pleasure and the pain are starting to take on new shape, new meaning. They're getting flipped upside down. What used to be one is now the other. You used to feel pleasure, or you used to be drawn to things that were perhaps not super healthy. They may have been like volatile or even just like really draining to your system. It could be environments that were very overstimulating. It could have been jobs that took you for granted. It could have been even smaller things like foods that you didn't actually like, but you forced yourself to eat because they were supposed to be the right thing for you or good for you. And now you're starting to listen more to yourself, to your own body, and there is a bit of disorientation and fear that came up or is continuing to come up, but more and more the trust is taking root of, when I do this, I actually feel better, and that lasts. It's more sustainable. It's lasting longer. Okay. What is the next question here? So now we're gonna kind of go in the opposite direction with pain first, and then we'll go back to pleasure. Where have you mistaken pain for growth, love, or purpose? And what is pain asking you to let go of? Woo, there we go. Okay, we have the Six of Pentacles. So I think that there have been a lot of relationships in your life where you were giving a lot of yourself. This could be to systems like work environments, schooling, religion, or personal relationships like family and friendships, or romantic relationships, where you gave a lot and the other party professed to be giving back to you, and you believed that for a while. You believed maybe if you gave in these certain ways or in the right ways, if you could dial into exactly what it was that they wanted and how they wanted it, then you would receive the return of your investment. But you never did, and what you actually received was the depletion. So what pain is asking you to let go of is a belief that you have to invest yourself in places where your energy is not respected. Not like when somebody or a place disrespects your boundaries, doesn't honor your system, that you are allowed to step away. Okay. And on the flip side, pleasure. How is there a way that you have connected pleasure to yeah, I guess just like in what places is pleasure still connected to pain? Oh, we have the Hangman again, and we have the Two of Swords. So I think that there are still some liminal spaces, liminal moments where the pleasure and pain get a little bit more convoluted, which makes a lot of sense. Like if you are actually sick, or if you are going through a large transition in your life, if you had a heartbreak, or if you even like at certain times in your cycle, if you have a menstrual cycle, if you are somebody who enters, anybody at any time who is entering that liminal space, so that transitional energy, the pleasure and the pain are going to be mixing and matching a little bit more closely. And I think that even in that spot, you're actually starting to sever the ties a bit. You're starting to realize that, oh, there isn't something wrong with me while I'm in this transition. It's okay that I am experiencing this illness or this loss of work or this heartbreak. It doesn't mean that I am unlovable or that I'm a failure. It doesn't mean that I am like defective in some way. In fact, you're using that as an opportunity to pour more love into yourself. I'm imagining you creating more rituals of pleasure, love, sensuality for those times. It's giving, like, you go through a breakup and then you have this major glow up because you are like taking really good care of your body and you're getting really good sleep and you are listening to all your favorite music and you are like doing your best skincare routine and you go and get your hair cut in the way that you want and you're getting a whole new wardrobe, you know, like all of the things that you actually wanted to do the entire time you were in that relationship, but for whatever reason you didn't think that you could, or the person that you were in the relationship was somehow restricting you, and now you're like, bitch, please, I can do what I want. And that's the feeling of this. So like, let's say that you were, I mean, this is coming up for me. I'm going to be getting surgery and I'm creating this whole ritual around the surgery because it's not exactly something that you would necessarily look forward to, but I'm turning it into a time to like really pour into myself, to pick out new pajamas, to find my favorite movies and TV shows to watch, to make sure, like, I'm almost like nesting beforehand to make sure that my space is super clean, like all of those types of things that will make my environment really peaceful and enjoyable to be in during recovery. And I think that that's something that you are finding a way to do more of for yourself in those transitional spaces, so that the relationship between pleasure and pain doesn't get so mixed up again. All right. And the breakup. What beliefs keep pleasure and pain fused together? What experience could help create a new association? What does safety actually feel like in your body? What are you actually wanting to replace the old pattern of them being tied together? Okay, we got 3. The Emperor. The Emperor has been showing up a lot there's lots of healthy, grounded, safe masculine energy. And that can be whatever you want it to mean. For me, I think of it as the more structured and supportive parts of my life. The part of me that encourages me to do it for the plot, I guess. The way that these two are fully breaking up is by burning it down and realizing that you do have the power to walk away from the old patterns, that it's not something that needs to hold you hostage anymore. And I think that you already know that, but there may still be moments that come up and say, hey, what about me? Or like we said before, with you feeling hungry or tired, or, you know, like some big thing will happen and you feel like you're right back where you started, and you're realizing, no, I'm not back where I started. I'm not back in that cage. I can make a different choice this time. The tower already fell. It's already fallen multiple times, and I've picked myself right back up, and I actually have a lot more of this Emperor energy than I give myself credit for. I have done so much to support myself. I have dug myself out of a lot of holes, and even if other people don't see all of the little things that you do to care for yourself and to build a beautiful life for yourself, you see it, and you're giving yourself more and more love and credit and appreciation, devotion all the time. You're actually starting to experience things like devotion, loyalty, care, consideration, aliveness, rest, safety, steadiness with yourself and in the relationships that you're building with other people, because of the more defined roles of pleasure and pain that when the tower does crumble, when I feel stuck in my cage, that's just a moment in the plot. It's just a part of my story. It isn't my whole identity, and it doesn't change my worthiness, and I don't have to prove anything because of it. There may be this need to kind of prove that you're living a grand, beautiful, lovely life, and that's starting to dissipate a lot as these two are separating themselves, because you're just actually enjoying your life. So you don't need to prove it to other people that you are. You're just out having fun. You're out riding your bike or dancing to your favorite music. You are having conversations with people about things that interest you. You are doing whatever it is that brings you pleasure, and you're more fully in your body. You aren't as afraid of future tower moments either, or moments when you get triggered and feel like you're back in that cage, because you have the experience. to know how to bring yourself back to center and regulation and all of the things that support you, to experience true embodied presence. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks for being here. Love you. Bye.